I was reborn on the day my sister and I were choosing our husbands. That was when I realized I could hear other people's thoughts. I heard my sister's voice in my head. This time, I have to grab the best husband before she does. Then she anxiously pulled away the gentle husband I had married in my past life, leaving me with the abusive man who had beaten her. I laughed. Did she really think the man I had married before was a good person? Once again, I found myself on the day of the husband selection. Sitting across from us at the dinner table were two men of similar age. One was Logan Carter, the eldest son of the Carter family, cold and distant by nature. The other was Ethan Carter, the youngest son, though technically illegitimate. He was mild-mannered and gentle. This time, I have to grab the best husband first. My sister's voice echoed in my ears. I glanced at her, but she hadn't spoken. She was simply staring straight at Ethan. "Just wait, I'm gonna take you away this time." Her voice came again. That was when I realized, not only had I been reborn, but I could hear people's thoughts. And judging from what my sister had just said, she had been reborn too. Otherwise, there was no way she would be thinking like this. Sure enough, the next second, she walked over and sat beside Ethan, looking at him shyly. "Hi, my name is Sophia Evans. I like you," she said coyly. At that moment, my father suddenly spoke. "Susan, since your sister has already chosen Ethan Carter, then you will marry Logan Carter." As soon as he said that, my sister's eyes filled with satisfaction. In her mind, she sneered, "This time, you can take the beatings for me." In my past life, Sophia had married Logan. Logan was a successful businessman, always busy with work, and was known for being emotionally distant. My sister had tried countless times to get close to him, but each time she was beaten and thrown out of his room. Eventually, because she never bore a child, Mrs. Carter declared her infertile and kicked her out of the family. Meanwhile, I had married Ethan. Even though he held little power in the Carter family, he still provided me with food and comfort. He took me shopping, out for meals, and pampered me endlessly. Everyone in the Carter household knew how much he doted on me. Later, when Logan suddenly died of poisoning, Ethan inherited the Carter family's business, and my status in the household soared overnight. My sister, consumed with jealousy, deliberately drove her car into me while I was out shopping, killing us both. "All right, Dad," I replied with a smile. "I actually like Logan too." Then I calmly walked over and sat beside Logan Carter. I had to admit, this man had an incredibly strong presence. The moment I sat down, I felt a chilling aura wrap around me, making me hesitant to speak. No wonder my sister had suffered so terribly in the past life. I tried to listen to his thoughts, but I heard nothing. However, when Ethan turned to look at Sophia with a smile, I suddenly heard his voice in my head. "What a beautiful little doll." A shiver ran down my spine. On instinct, I grabbed Logan's hand. Despite his cold personality, his hands were surprisingly warm. Feeling my touch, he turned to glance at me. I quickly let go, and only then did he remain silent. Even though Logan seemed intimidating, I still felt that staying with him was far better than being with Ethan, that venomous snake. This time, I was determined to change my tragic fate. I would make my own money, become independent, and rely on no one. Our wedding was held together. In my past life, we had also married on the same day. Back then, Logan hadn't even shown up to the ceremony, while Ethan had arrived early in the morning, making everyone say he was the more considerate husband. And just as expected, history repeated itself. Ethan, dressed in a white suit, hurried over and carried Sophia away. As they passed by me, she cast me a smug look. "Susan, where's Logan? Didn't he come to pick you up?" she sneered. I simply smiled. "No need for you to worry, Sophia. Just take care of yourself." Her face darkened at my words, clearly choked up. "Go ahead and laugh now. Let's see if you'll still be laughing when you're the one getting beaten." After saying that in his mind, Ethan Carter took Sophia downstairs with him. But it was still too early to say who would have the last laugh. Just like in my past life, Logan Carter did not attend the wedding, leaving both my sister and me to endure endless gossip and judgmental stares. Sophia was even more delighted, unable to contain her excitement as she clung to Ethan and blurted out, "I love you, Ethan." Then he kissed her. After the kiss, she turned to stare at me, her lips still wet with saliva. I knew she was waiting to see me humiliated. But I wasn't stupid. Unlike my past self, who had stormed out in anger, handing everyone and the Carter family the perfect scandal to gossip about. I wouldn't make the same mistake. I remembered how, in my last life, everyone had criticized Sophia for being immature and unfit to be the Carter family's eldest daughter-in-law. As a result, after the wedding, Mrs. Carter never showed her any kindness, making her life in the Carter household miserable. With a poised smile, I picked up the microphone and addressed the guests below the stage. Logan had an important business deal to negotiate today, so I'll be making the rounds in his place for the wedding toast. I hope you all won't mind. The moment I said that, the murmuring among the guests ceased. Even Mrs. Carter, seated at the main table, gave me a look of newfound appreciation. The Carter family was a prestigious household, highly concerned with maintaining its reputation. In moments like these, a daughter-in-law needed to show grace and composure. Sophia also noticed Mrs. Carter's reaction, and her eyes flashed with irritation. Disgusting, she sneered in her thoughts. Just wait. When it's time for the tea ceremony, I'll make sure you embarrass yourself. Honestly, I found this ability to hear others' thoughts incredibly useful. It was like having a cheat code for life. Everything became so much easier. When the tea ceremony began, I calmly lifted my gown and walked toward Mrs. Carter. Sophia kept her eyes locked on me, mentally counting down, 1, 2, 3. At the very last second, I sidestepped just in time to avoid whatever she had planned. Instead, she lost her balance and fell hard to the floor, spilling tea all over herself. "Oh no, are you all right?" Ethan hurriedly reached out to help her up, but in his mind, I heard him scoff. "What an idiot." The entire room turned to look in our direction. Mrs. Carter's face darkened with displeasure. "So reckless. Do you even look like a proper daughter-in-law?" "I'm sorry, Mother. It wasn't on purpose," Sophia stammered, trying to cover up her embarrassment, but the unwillingness in her eyes was obvious. If I were her, I would have just accepted the loss and focused on living quietly. But she wasn't willing to let me have peace, so I certainly wouldn't go easy on her. With Sophia making a fool of herself, the wedding ended in an awkward rush. From start to finish, Mrs. Carter never once gave her a kind look. But when she turned to me, there was nothing but approval in her gaze. She even took my hand and said warmly, "Susan, tonight, I'll make sure Logan comes home to keep you company. He should make it up to you." And sure enough, that night, Logan actually came back. The moment he walked through the door, he loosened his tie, his face filled with exhaustion. I quickly stepped forward to take his jacket. "Logan, you must be tired today," I said gently. He merely glanced at me and said nothing. In my past life, the servants had gossiped about how, on our wedding night, Logan never came home. My sister had waited alone in the bridal chamber, becoming the laughingstock of the entire household. When she went to Mrs. Carter to complain, she was scolded instead, told that she lacked the ability to win over a man's heart. While Logan was in the shower, I prepared his bed, made some tea, and tidied up the couch for myself to sleep on. When he came out and saw the scene, a flicker of surprise flashed through his eyes. I quickly explained, "You sleep on the bed. I'll take the couch." He narrowed his eyes slightly, studying me. "Susan, are you trying to play hard to get?" Draped in only a bathrobe, his chest was slightly exposed, beads of water still clinging to his skin. I had to admit, his physique was incredible. I quickly averted my gaze. "We have no real feelings for each other. Sharing a bed would be awkward for both of us. If possible, I'd like to propose a partnership." Logan raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "After all, our marriage is just a business arrangement. Plenty of couples in our situation live separate lives and only put on a show for appearances. I married you simply to ensure a stable and comfortable life. I don't expect love." Hearing my words, he suddenly smirked. "You're smart. That works for me too. I can agree to that. I was just an ordinary person. I didn't have the skills or confidence to control a man's heart." In the Carter family, Logan's attitude toward me would largely depend on how Mrs. Carter viewed me. I had no desire to end up like Sophia in our past life, targeted and isolated by everyone. That would bring me no benefits. Besides, in my past life, Logan had been physically abusive toward Sophia. I had no intention of provoking him and ending up in the same situation. Peaceful coexistence was the best option. This time, my only goal was to make money, start my own business, and rise to success on my own terms. To maintain appearances, I had Logan post a picture of us holding hands on social media, captioned Happy Newlyweds. This way, everyone would believe our marriage was fine. As I scrolled through his profile, I noticed how empty it was. Aside from this new post, there was nothing else. Someone like him must have a dull life. That night, Logan really did take the bed while I slept on the couch. He had no concept of chivalry whatsoever, but I should be grateful. At least he didn't force me into anything. The next morning, I was woken up by the sound of Logan working out. He was doing push-ups while listening to music. I had heard that emotionally cold men were usually frail, but his 8-pack abs and toned calf muscles were proof of his incredible strength, far superior to Ethan's physique. "Stop staring. I'm not interested in you," Logan suddenly said, getting up from the floor. He put on his shirt and added, "Get ready. Let's go eat breakfast." I knew what he was really saying. He wanted people to see us together, to make it look like we were in